Yep, apologies about that. So as mentioned, guys, I'm going to explain about what this course is, Certified Ethical Hacking, to give you a brief introduction on it. So when you talk about this term called ethical hacking, guys, again, you see there are two different words, that ethical hacking and again, just simply hacking. A lot of students have a misconception that hacking and ethical hacking are one and the same. But let me clarify that first. So when you talk about hacking, this is the procedure of trying to gain access to information systems. Now, what I mean by that phrase, gaining access to information systems, is if I were a hacker and if I were supposed to hack your phone, it basically means I've got complete remote connection of your phone. So I can now remotely access the data on your phone. I can delete the data on your phone, or I can sell your data to other people. And all of this is done without the permission or without the knowledge of the person owning those devices. Okay, so this is usually performed by hackers for their own benefit, or sometimes hackers can do it even just for fun. Now, when you talk about ethical hacking, on the other hand, now the main question that arises is, how is this getting ethical in the first place? To define ethical hacking, this is the procedure of trying to find vulnerabilities. Now, this term called vulnerability is something that will keep coming across a lot of times in the upcoming days. So to define a vulnerability, it's a loophole, it's a flaw in the information system. Okay. And with the consent of the organization, we try to find these flaws in the target organization and report it back. And once the vulnerabilities or the flaws are reported back, they try to patch it up so that no other hacker can exploit those flaws or cause any further harm. Now, depending on these two definitions of hacking and ethical hacking, we can categorize the types of hackers as well. So there's someone known as a white hat hacker, a gray hat hacker, and a black hat hacker. The white hat hackers or gray hat hackers or black hat hackers are professional hackers. The only difference is what they're doing internally or how they're helping or harming the organization. So when you talk about black hat hackers first, these are people who perform hacking for their own benefit and just for fun without asking for consent. These people are also commonly known as cyber criminals. On the other end of the spectrum, we have white hat hackers, someone who abides by the laws and policies of the company and works for securing the organization's infrastructure. And they're also commonly known as ethical hackers. And in between, there's a third mysterious category called gray hat hackers. Now, these are people who have both the qualities of a black hat hacker as well as a white hat hacker. So like a black hat hacker, they don't ask for permission first. But once they do find the vulnerability, they report it back to the company. But again, nothing is done for free. They do it in return for a bounty. A bounty is like a financial reward they expect in return for reporting that vulnerability to the organization. So gray hat hackers are people who perform, again, ethical hacking itself, but in return, they don't ask for permission and request a bounty for reporting the vulnerabilities. So therefore, they're working both offensively and defensively at various stages. And these people are also commonly known as bug bounty hunters. Okay. Now, no matter what category of a hacker you take, whether you take black hat hackers or gray hat hackers or white hat hackers, they perform hacking or ethical hacking in a certain procedure. And that procedure is known as cyber kill chain. Okay. So this procedure can also be called as hacking cycle by a few certain organizations. And to define it, this is the procedure that is followed by both hackers and cybersecurity professionals to understand how these attacks are performed and to also detect and prevent these attacks at every level. Okay, so the procedure that hackers follow in order to perform a successful cyber attack, and the same knowledge of which allows cybersecurity professionals as well to understand these attacks, detect these attacks, and prevent them at every level, is called as cyber kill chain. Now, again, this procedure of cyber kill chain consists of 5 important steps, guys. There's something called as information gathering, scanning, gaining access, maintaining access, and reporting or clearing traces. So these are the 5 steps that are followed by any cybersecurity professional in real time to perform cybersecurity checks on an organization. Okay, to verify if a company is secure or not, if their devices are secure or not, you verify that with these 5 procedures or with these 5 steps. Okay. So that is what is done by a cybersecurity professional in an organization. Okay. Now, again, our course is going to revolve around these 5 steps itself, guys. We're going to learn what information gathering is, we learn what scanning is, we learn what gaining access is, we learn what maintaining access is, and then finally reporting or clearing traces as well. Okay. So again, let me briefly explain each of these steps one by one, please, so you have a better idea about what topics we'll be covering throughout the course. Okay. So the first topic we have here is information gathering. This is also commonly known as reconnaissance or footprinting, and the main objective here is to gather information about your target passively. So again, this is the step where the hacker or the ethical hacker tries to research information or tries to get information about the target organization before launching the attack. And all of this information is obtained passively. What I mean by passively is you get this information from third-party sources from the internet. Okay. And again, during this phase, you try to retrieve information such as IP addresses, DNS records, whose records, domains and subdomains, employee information, contact numbers of the employees, email addresses of the employees, usernames and passwords of the employees, which might have been leaked online. So believe it or not, all of this information is readily available on the internet, and you try to obtain this information in information gathering. After this information is obtained, then you move on to the next step called scan. So the step is also commonly known as enumeration, and this is the main objective of this step over here is to gather as much extra information as possible about the target organization, but by active methods. Earlier we got the information passively. Here we get it actively. Actively in the sense making direct contact with the target servers and retrieving information from their servers itself. And this information obtained can be divided in three simple parts. Then we can perform something called network scanning, port scanning, and vulnerability scanning. In network scanning, we figure out in the target organization what all devices are active. So how many servers do they have? How many routers do they have? How many firewalls do they have? How many client operating system devices do they have? So getting a network topology of the internal network is network scanning. Once you know what all devices are active in their network, then you perform port scanning, figuring out what ports are open on those devices and what services are running on them. And once you know what services are running on them as well, you perform vulnerability scan, figuring out what services contain what vulnerabilities to attack on. So it's a step-by-step procedure, finding the devices first, on the devices finding what applications or services are running, and on those applications or services finding out which of them are vulnerable to attacks. Okay. And once you know what vulnerabilities exist, next phase is nothing but attacking on them, and that is called gaining access. So the real phase, or we'd say the phase where the real hacking occurs. Okay. And again, this is the phase where the attackers use the vulnerabilities found in the earlier phases to attack the target system or the application or the entire network here. Again, a very huge module, guys. Again, this is the list of topics we'll be going through it. Okay. But again, these might seem a bit gibberish for now. Okay, but to give you a brief understanding, we try to understand the security of each and every endpoint. We talk about system security, Windows security. We talk about malwares. Okay, what are malicious softwares and how do they infect our systems and how do we prevent these attacks? Okay. Then we talk about network attacks. Okay, attacks where hackers can shut down remote servers or crack your Wi-Fi passwords or capture your data, whatever data you're entering on your system. How can they read that data in your network? Okay, how do they create fake websites and perform phishing attacks? How do they attack web servers? How do they attack websites? Okay, how do they attack firewalls? How do you attack mobile phones? So we learn all these modules in this gaining access part. So basically, we try to understand how do you attack every single endpoint, whether it be system security, network security, wireless security, website security, web application security, or firewall security, or mobile phone security. We cover each and every endpoint over here. We try to talk about the security of each and every device that could possibly exist in an organization. Okay. So we learn, again, this module also makes you understand how do you perform the attacks and how do you defend your organization from these various attacks. Once you learn that, finally comes the main important part, maintaining access and reporting or clearing traces. So once you've got a remote connection to a system, you need to maintain that connectivity with the system actually. So that is called as maintaining access. No matter how many times the system restarts, you should be connected to it. So that is what we learned in maintaining access. And finally, the end result is reporting or clearing traces, where as an ethical hacker, we make the company understand how many vulnerabilities exist in the organization. So we generate a report for them and we elaborate all the loopholes and also provide solutions to remediate them. On the other hand, if you're a black hat hacker, you don't remediate anything, you don't report anything, you try to stay anonymous. So that is done by removing all the footprints generated and deleting the logs on the target system. So you erase the evidence of all your actions and then you hide your identity. So that is what the cyber criminal does. This course is going to run in 2 tracks where we learn what a cyber criminal does to harm our systems. And we also learn how do you protect your own organization from these cyber criminals. So that is also commonly known as red team testing and blue team testing. Okay, red team is where you learn the offensive attacks on an organization, the commonly known cyber threat attacks. And blue team testing is how do you defend from these commonly known cyber threats on your organization. Okay, again, This is just a brief introduction, guys. I've elaborated a lot more on this demo in the earlier sessions. Those sessions are available on YouTube on the official channel of DurgaSoft itself. So you can go through those as well. And from tomorrow, we'll be starting the networking fundamentals. I was supposed to start that today, but since the strength is a bit low, I'm going to start that from tomorrow, where we talk about what networking is. Okay, what are IP addresses? What are IPv4 addresses? What is the range of IPs? Okay, what are the different categories of IP addresses? What are public IPs? What are private IPs? We'll talk about all this in the upcoming sessions. Okay. So yeah, nothing further, guys. Again, as mentioned, just a brief demo to give you a brief glimpse on what the course is about. The course is for a duration of 35 days, where we have classes from Monday to Friday every day for 1 hour each. Okay. And again, all the recordings will be provided to you. All the all these files, the documentation, the presentations, all are included in the price of 8,000 rupees. Again, Indian currency, 8,000. So yeah, that's a brief intro, guys, on what the course is about. But again, as mentioned, this is just going to be an intro. Tomorrow, we're going to start the actual course where we talk about this networking fundamentals. That's going to act as a much better demo for you all. Okay. So if possible, please do join the session tomorrow, guys, at the same time, where we talk a bit more in detail on networking fundamentals. Okay. Is that clear? Rupinder, Ben? Ben, can you
Hello?
Yeah, Ben, I can hear you.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah, Ben, any questions also?
Not really. We're gonna have another session. When is the demo over?
Again, as mentioned, it's going to be for this whole week. We're going to have the sessions at the same time from tomorrow onwards as well. So we'll talk about networking fundamentals in tomorrow's demo.
Okay, great. Appreciate it.
Sure. Let's connect back tomorrow at the same time and talk about networking. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.